Hi Sam, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
No worries at all. I'm really looking forward to going through some bits. So a good place to start is always right at the beginning of your career. So what was your first job?
So I would say actually there's two parts to this. I have a first job, but going back, I guess, way to the beginning, and I think, but even before I knew it was a job, was when I was sort of in my early teens. I was at school and I used to get £2 pocket money each day, and I used to ride my bike into school, and I went past it was called BJ's Value House, which as I turned into an adult realised was a very interesting name for a shop. But they used to sell big packs of sweets. I'd go in, spend £2 on sweets and sell them at school, and I remember getting like 200 strawberry laces. I'd sell them for 5p, make £10 or make £8, take £10 home, and that was kind of my first soiree into buying, selling, making a bit of money.
Yeah.
And kind of led me to various paths throughout my career, I think. One of the things which I liked through that was not so much the making and accruing of money, but the freedom it gave me. So I was just at that time picked up golf, and I knew that I could play around a golf at my local course for £6 as a teenager. So if I had my money, I didn't have to ask mum or dad. I could go and just ask them to give me a lift, and then I could go and play golf, which was something I enjoyed. And I think that kind of like financial freedom element is what's taken me bit by bit to where I am now. But then I guess fast forwarding like 10 years from then, I'd say my first proper job came out of uni, went travelling, and I got a job at Goodwood. So
Nice.
Working within the motorsport events team, looking after kind of the operations for the exhibition area for Goodwood Festival of Speed and Revival and members meetings, so kind of like the three main automotive events essentially. Whoppers of events, had anywhere between, up to kind of like 300 exhibitors in the area we looked after. It was a blank canvas from an operations perspective with an event landscape. It was outdoors, in a field. It required infrastructure from the ground up every year. So, electricity, plumbing, data cabling, all dug in and underground, sort of 3 or 4 months before, then through to the erection of the marquees and the structures and things which I guess we provided in comparison to clients bringing on. So that was a real great, I guess, first entry onto the career ladder properly, beyond some sort of cafe jobs before that, and also into events. Like it was kind of felt very much thrown into the deep end at a young age. Learnt a lot, worked with some great clients who are still clients now. So that was that. And then I think from there I moved to a large agency which were at the time very much exhibitions focused down on the south coast, and in turn I guess I was there for 5 years, and they developed into probably a specialist large scale event organizer, so doing things like COP summits and New Year's Eve fireworks and in London, and very much kind of like large scale mass participation events. The business was super process driven, quite rigid in an organisational structure, but again, some great lessons learnt there, which was then flipped on its head when I went to a different agency 5 years from then, which was a super laid-back San Francisco-based creative agency.
Nice.
Lacked process, lacked infrastructure, but in comparison, the clients we've gone from working kind of with governmental departments to Google, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and it was all about the ideas and less about the delivery, certainly from my element. And that was, again, gave me a total opposite experience to what I'd had before, but equally as fascinating and exciting, and probably rounded where I am now. There's still hundreds of gaps, but I think I've certainly seen two very different sides of the coin, which allowed me to kind of piece together at the time, knowing that I wanted to set up my own business in the future, the good parts to take from each and certainly the bad parts to avoid as well.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. So what an incredible introduction, you think going straight into Goodwood, a really prestigious, well-known event, that's quite a baptism by fire. And what were the kind of main learnings that you said that you got from working across those events, other than the huge build and everything that's required? Were there any bits that really stick with you now?
I think the one main learning I had was, I guess, less about the job and more about I was a quite naive, early on the career ladder employee at that point, and I very much thought, if I give my blood, sweat, tears and soul to every single day at work, and work all the nights and all the weekends and do as much as I can, then that's gonna be the answer to all things. And it really wasn't. And I think what it did show is, and for everyone kind of watching this podcast, I know sort of have some element within the events industry. The events industry isn't a 9 to 5 job, so it was kind of, I learnt quite quickly that some of what I was doing was expectation, and some of it was me trying to please people, which it didn't necessarily need pleasing. So I think that aside, that gave me some very quick lessons in making sure that I understood the balance of, I guess, what I should be giving, which has certainly helped now being a dad and a husband and a business owner, and hopefully that balance has kind of learnt from that early on. But other things around, you can build the most amazing event, but the most important part is still that relationship you have with the client. Some of these clients I met over 10 years ago, and I still speak to them now. I've been through, as I said, different agencies, now set up my own business, and I think some of those relationships I built on early on were the foundation of where Kairos has got to now. Not at the time the extra hours I worked and the extra detail we put into the design, or making sure that a cable was dug deep enough so that no one noticed anything. Those sort of things at the time were super important, and that was what I was burning those extra hours on. Whereas looking back now, it was all about kind of being that friendly face, being nice, being friendly, and carrying that through to now.
Yeah, brilliant. So I guess off the back of that, what advice would you give people that are currently looking to get into the events industry? What advice would you equip them with going into that first role? Because I know that feeling of you want to do 25 hours, you want to do 26 hours each day to prove. But yeah, what advice would you give those?
Yeah, and I think it's a tough question in a way, because I've got some great employees that work for us who are straight out of uni, and I can see that their willingness to go that extra mile, come up with something new, push the boundaries, they're eager to please, and contradicting what I've said about the things which I kind of experienced, that the lessons I took in later life from doing over the top of that at the beginning. As a business owner, there are also things which I really value my employees doing right now. But I think it is just making sure that being nice and kind to people is the most important thing which I think you can do at any point throughout any career. And coming out of university, I think there's a mindset, you want to get onto the career ladder. You watch all these, Dragon's Den and The Apprentice, and your introduction to business life is sometimes quite distorted by this view of this harsh, sharp, banging on the table, emotionless, I guess like British culture. Whereas actually, I think coming out of university, going into a job in the event sector, be nice to people, be helpful. Absolutely go the extra mile and do what you can to please those that you're working for and working with. But I think, the most important thing is those relationships which you build at that early stage are ones which you're going to carry through your career. The events industry is a wicked and wonderful world, and everyone kind of knows everyone one way or another. And I think those relationships will help you to grow your career more than burning both ends of the clock to fix a problem at those early stages.
100%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The power of relationships within the industry is, I don't think I've come across many industries where the relationships are so close-knit and so interconnected. So as you say, it's definitely important to build those right from the beginning.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
So, yeah. So Fab, so you've had lots of amazing experience, obviously, across Goodwood, and then the COP summits. They sound incredible. What was that like working on? Well, I say incredible from the outside,
yeah.
but I imagine inside probably wasn't.
No, it's amazing, and you're right. Like it's like all these big projects at different companies in different industries. You know, when you're in the eye of the storm, you're like, God, this is a beast. And then it takes some time, and I certainly know my employees and the company I used to work for, it takes a bit of time to step away from those projects to look back and see the achievement of what everyone's put in, all the blood, sweat and tears at that point. As a project, I mean, it was amazing to be involved in. There were, I think, just some kind of like, so this was the one in, whilst I was there, I mean, the company I worked for have gone on to do subsequent COPs year on year, but this was the very first one, and it was in Glasgow at the time. So firstly, I spent way too much time in Glasgow that I would have intended. I mean, by the end it was almost a second home, and a lovely city in many ways. But we had 80,000 people. We had kind of like VIP delegates, as you can imagine, from all the major countries in the world. The infrastructure was huge. It was, you're looking at kind of a network of, I guess, every single supplier within the event network was probably touching it one way or another. In terms of, by supplier, I mean type of supplier, from marquee suppliers, toilet suppliers, everything. So the scale of the operation was huge. There was at times over 1,000 staff working on it. We had huge technical production and AV going into it, and I guess the people far more skilled than I am sort of looking after specific elements of each of those, kind of just to make the bigger thing all come together. But yeah, a whopping event. Took ages. I mean, the most interesting part I remember was the actual pitch for this and the tender for the job. So as with a lot of these big projects, it goes out to tender. There's probably 3 or 4 companies in the country which would be able to deliver a summit of that scale. But I remember we were, again, back to kind of some of the early stages of my career, we were doing nigh on all-nighters in an office floor, submitting tender documents, reading through them, proofing them. We had like 30, 40 people working on this, and it was a fun time which brought a lot of people together and lives on in my memory. But yeah, a crazy event, one that I wouldn't necessarily want to do again.
Definitely, nice.
Yeah.
So one you can look back on fondly now, but I guess if I asked you during it,
yeah,
it would have been like, this is chaos. But
100%.
Fab, amazing. So after your agency experience, what motivated you to then go on and start your own thing?
So it had always been in the back of my mind, and I think going back to the 13-year-old me, finding his financial independence, being able to pay for his round of golf, the rationale to setting up my own agency was never about being able to kind of like make my millions and sail off on a yacht to Monaco. It was very much about being able to gain some independence in decision making. I like the ability and the challenge of hanging your hat on a decision, and if it all goes belly up, it's on you. And on the flip side, knowing you can make a good decision, and you can see the smiles it puts on people's faces, you can see the reward it brings in different ways. All of those culminated with kind of like, I guess the biggest thing that happened in my life was obviously the birth of my son. And at the time where I was working, I was thinking, okay, right, I'm in a position where I'm on the train for 3 hours every day in and out of London. So I'm losing 15 hours a week here. I was on a decent salary and about to drop down to 140 quid statutory paternity pay a week for 2 weeks or whatever. And then that was it. So I kind of made the decision where, right, I'm going to hang in my gun and badge to this agency. If I'm going to take the punt setting up my own thing, and if it doesn't work, then at worst case, I've got a couple months to figure out a new job whilst helping my wife raise my son into the world. And best case scenario, it goes well, and I'm then starting to build on something at the same time as learning how to become a father and all those things, which kind of became a big melting pot of learnings at a very quick period of time. But yeah, that was really the catalyst for change. I kind of, family life's always been important, going back to those early years of being able to make sure you find a good work-life balance. And I think, we talked before we started the podcast about sort of having hobbies and social activities outside of work, and all of those things are so important.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can be a full successful founder or MD or whatever role you play in a career without being able to have something which grounds you or outside of work.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the reason for setting it up. It gave me an opportunity to throw myself in the deep end and build something for the future, I guess.
Amazing. And what a decision with all of that stuff going on, in your life as well, to take on this challenge. Incredible. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about the business and the kind of the mission you went out to achieve from then.
Yeah, so I guess suggesting it was all kind of a punt in the dark and a sort of throwing caution to the wind when my son was born wouldn't be the full truth in that sense. As I said, there's been the years before I'd been, plotting in my mind what this might one day look like. So when I did set the business up, I kind of had a clear vision of what I wanted it to be. And as with any new business, it's developed and taken different turns, new turns since then. So I'd say, as of this day, kind of Chorus is a brand experience agency, first and foremost. So I guess building on that agency model, which I've sort of learnt over the past 10 years, that is encompassing sort of design and build for exhibitions, design, build management for conferences, conference sets, pop-up and retail activations, and brand experience activations. So we work with a number of companies bringing sort of products to life in wicked and wonderful ways, working closely with their PR agencies and influencers that are involved to kind of help tell a story of a product or brand. And I guess going back to the heart of all of those things when we're thinking about the creative rationale for something, or even the rationale in terms of some of our project management decisions, are all around bringing back that one-to-one human connection. I think that's what drew me to events at the very beginning, paired with just trying to be a good, genuine person and have that culture which feeds through the business and everyone that works for us. That is kind of what we set out to do, deliver meaningful activations for brands, delivered with honesty and integrity and creativity paired together. And I guess subsequently with that, we've then launched a sort of in-house production side of the business as well, which allows us to not only design and project manage activations and exhibition stands, but build everything ourselves from the ground up, to small vinyl to a set of a stage for 20, 30 people to be on, or an exhibition stand that could be outdoors, indoors, wherever. So that's kind of where we are now, and I'm sure we'll be, if you ask me again in 2 years, it might be totally different.
Nice. Let's do another podcast in 2 years' time to the day and see where we're at. But that sounds incredible. And to your point, I guess the business has been built and formed by you probably over the past decade, if not further, and all of those learnings that have been taken from those different events are pulling into your experience. And I guess that your value of relationships and how important that is to kind of them building these experiences, it sounds really special. Yeah,
no, it is. And I think that's, I'm a person that before I worked in events, I loved events. I love sport first and foremost, and that's kind of took me to events. And I think, I've been to golf events, for example. I love going to the Open. I try and go every year with my older brother. And there's something magical when you turn up and you, looking back now, I think the design cues, for example, where you see the same Royal Navy blue featured across the whole of the sort of Open Championship site, and you're walking in the queuing and they've got speakers playing commentary from years gone by, and you kind of feel immersed and consumed in this world which you've just stepped into alongside 50,000 other like-minded people. And I've always kind of been engrossed and fascinated by that world. So having the opportunity to step into events and then essentially design how we wanted to build the business and relay our culture and our way to deliver projects in a way which I'd chosen to was a nice opportunity. So pulling back all those learnings, experiences as a punter has really helped kind of shape where we are now.
Amazing. So you mentioned attending the Open and the golf each year.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this might be the answer, but is there a dream event that you'd love to work on? Would it be that, or is that too obvious?
No, do you know, sometimes the obvious is right there in front of you, and I think like there's two sides to this, I guess. The dream, what would I like to work on? I guess purely from a selfish point of view, I know within the team there's probably 12 of us, and I think 2 of us are interested in golf. So, you know, for me, building a culture where everyone is kind of on the same ship, it wouldn't necessarily be the best job for us to work on as a business, but I would, if the opportunity came, I would bite anyone's hand off. So if anyone's watching, message me. But the Open, it's an amazing event. I think it's way beyond just a golf event, and this is probably the same for all sports fans at sports events, at things that, or whatever people are passionate about, festivals. Being able to work on something which you know the spectator is like really willing to go there. So I guess that in itself answers, I guess, like part one of that would be almost like a B2C event rather than a B2B event where people are being dragged by their boss from one side of the country or world to the other to go and, you know, sit and listen to seminars all week. Whereas people are choosing to part with their money to go to something which they enjoy is a different story. So I think working in something like that would be great, and having the opportunity to kind of come up with experiences which you know are going to engage fans. As a fan yourself, it kind of makes the whole journey much easier to design. On the other side of the coin, I think I love Ice London, ran by Clarion, formerly in London, now going to be in Barcelona. It's an event I've always worked in just through my career for one reason or another, and it's just so fun. As exhibitions go, and someone who loves exhibitions, it's super creative. I love that it challenges people's perception of right and wrong. It has kind of certain elements to it which are a bit edgy, and brands which are willing to push the boat out and not follow the norm in what they're doing, paired with amazing design, amazing craftsmanship from all the contractors which are working behind the scenes, bringing these amazing exhibition stands to life. And each exhibition stand has its own story, is bringing amazing tech, creativity, engagement to life. And this is all under one roof. And I've been lucky enough to go there pretty much for the whole 3 days every year for probably the last 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, great.
Even when I haven't got a job there, I'll still put it in the diary and go, because it's a great learning experience. I think what's cutting edge in the industry, which when we're working in exhibitions, is always on show at ICE. So if I can go there, bring a couple of the team members, it's a good day out. Yeah, amazing. And I guess to your point there around the difference between those B2C events and the B2B events, I hope we're in a place now where that idea of your boss dragging you across to it hopefully doesn't, we're starting to phase that out a bit more and make the events much more interesting, like ICE, as you've mentioned. Yeah. From your experience as a fan, what do you think B2B events could be doing better from an experience perspective, so that I'm waking up or I'm sat at home on a Sunday and I cannot wait to go to that event Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, regardless if it's B2B or whatever, which, is definitely achievable, right? Yeah, and I think certainly if I go into kind of like the conferencing world of things, when we're looking at B2B events, as you pointed out, the gap is definitely getting smaller and smaller, and the difference which I kind of see a lot of is around agenda, and I guess this is true for exhibitions as well. It's far beyond now, I guess. You're flying in, you're turning up, you've got to go and watch a load of seminars or stand on your own exhibition stand with a smile on your face trying to sell to people all day, and then you go back to your hotel and then do it the same again. It's all the periphery activities which kind of are making these things come to life. You've got a whole audience in one city or one particular venue for a set amount of days, and I see things like yoga sessions happening, or evening entertainment, which is particularly pertinent to that area you've gone to. So you're kind of being able to go and take in some culture. The content is becoming super more engaging and interesting in kind of the speakers which are being involved. I think brands and organisers are certainly now willing to invest in bringing in, I guess, a broader range of activities, speakers, as I said. I think also the emerging tech coming through helps, because there's a lot of great gadgets in the lead up to people attending. So I might have to go back to this. Okay. Where should I pick up from?
Anywhere that works.
Okay, fine. So going back to the early stages of someone attending an event, and you guys probably know this more than I do, but you're able to capture so much more personal data that people are willingly giving up when they're registering. So you can, find out some of your attendees' hobbies, interests, certain demographics which are coming, which allows you to kind of tailor a program more specifically to the people that are coming, rather than just, we've got 20,000 people, this is the agenda or this is the program, and away you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that is a key part of listening to your audience, understanding what they're looking from it and tailoring it to that. And the other bits, as you say, around the kind of the agenda of the day. I saw that Brighton SEO a couple of weeks ago, they had a networking 10K and a litter picking and stuff like that, which is quite good fun, isn't it? That got me really excited, as well as the seminars and the stuff that you're going there for. It's those bits outside that are nice.
Definitely, yeah. Anything I think which gets people outside a bit as well is always good. It's one thing which we try and do as much of. We've just actually got back from a charity bike ride as a business, and that was a good opportunity to connect with the outside, get away from the laptops and things like that. So anything which drags people away from a specific setting for the whole time is great.
Definitely. We're just on the bike ride. I wanted to get to that. So in terms of the business and the culture that you're trying to grow and foster within it, how important is that to the business? That would be something that would be great to discuss in a bit more detail. I
actually think, and it's probably cliche in as I'm sure we all do, watch different podcasts that other leaders do around the country. It is the most important thing, and I think being a new business and very young, we've got a really unique opportunity to kind of shape the culture every single day. We've got no clunky baggage to sort of drag behind us and really try and work hard to change. It should be an easy and exciting opportunity, and that's certainly how I view it. So much so that I would say we don't actually have a core sales strategy. There's no secret sauce behind what we do and the clients we work with. Culture is almost the reason people buy from us. We've been able to kind of shape those bits which I've mentioned earlier around which are important to me, being kind, nice to people, empathetic. It's an obvious and easy solution to pick out, but it's something which I try and carry through every walk of life, and therefore the people which we employ hopefully share those same values, and then therefore our clients kind of buy into the fact that we're someone that they can trust, and we're someone that they know is going to go the extra mile to do a good job for them. And also we can go and share a glass of wine or a beer or a coffee after and just have a normal conversation. So those things are really important. And then I guess away from how that works for our client side, I think going back to the point around events being hard work, beyond the 9 till 5, and me not necessarily chasing every pound, shilling and pence that's available. When there's a job goes well or there's an opportunity, it's a great opportunity for the team to kind of enjoy those experiences as well. And we do things like, where we're travelling, if you want to take your partner with you, then we'll offer to pay for their flight or their transport over, and they can share accommodation with you. We've had only just last month, someone's partner went out to Monaco. We had a job at Monaco Yacht Show one of our carpenters was going to be there for like 9 days in total with 4 rest days. So rather than fly him home, fly him back out there, we paid for his partner to go. They had a lovely holiday. Same with earlier in the year, one of the young ladies in the team, her and her boyfriend had 3 days in Amsterdam. I mean, she was working during the day, but they still got to do things together in the evening. As a business, it doesn't really cost us a huge amount of money, but to those employees, it's a really valuable and beneficial part of the role. And in events, if you can get your partners, your employees' partners on side, I think it's going to make everyone's life a bit easier as well with the amount of time we're away. So
yeah, exactly. I think that's a really nice consideration that can sometimes be overlooked. So yeah, I think that's a lovely kind of incentive to have, really kind of genuine, and I think that comes from a place of, you know, humanness of like, you know, when you're going to an event or you've got a work trip, you're looking forward to it, but you also, you know, you feel a little bit guilty when the suitcase is by the door and that. So I think that's
and I think that's been built from core values I've had originally, plus recently becoming a parent. And like you say, you know, the suitcase behind the door, I certainly feel guilty every time I leave. And I've done 10 years of a lot of travel and trying to minimise my travel now. But I know for the team, it's a really exciting opportunity to go away, experience these cultures, go and work on projects in amazing countries. We had a job in Harare in Zimbabwe in May.
Wow.
And one of the team, I mean, we had all these warnings coming out about don't go outside after dark, all these things which are quite scary. And the team member that went did an absolutely amazing job. But for kind of like the 4 core days, spent a lot of the time just within the 4 walls of the hotel. So then come the end of the week, we delayed the flight back, booked him onto a 2-day safari, and then he was out in the wild doing, you know, up close with all these wild animals on a safari in Africa. And it's those sort of things which I think if you don't enrich your employees with those opportunities, very soon they'll stop wanting to go on those abroad trips, which could be a few days and not too challenging, but also, you know, you want them to put their hand up when it's a week away. And back to the point around you need the partners to be on board, because if they're not, then it makes their life back at home a challenge, and you don't want to be the catalyst for conversation in that regard. So trying to make sure that everyone is on board with it, we're providing those opportunities, and ultimately, like, as cliche as it is, we're all only on this planet once, so why shouldn't we just try and have the opportunity to embrace it? And if I can provide that, and Kairos can kind of help facilitate those opportunities, then that's what we want to do.
Yeah, incredible. I think that's amazing. And the way it's worked out in that scenario, I think what a shame would it be to come back from Zimbabwe and just seeing the 4 walls of a,
exactly,
I don't know, the generic hotel or something.
Yeah.
So incredible. So just going back to the business, obviously you mentioned, you've gone through those kind of early few years, which are often the most challenging.
Yeah.
What are the kind of the key learnings or the key mishaps you might have experienced in those years that you've really learnt from?
So learnings, I would say, as a broad brushstroke, is nothing. What's the saying? Nothing tried, nothing. Yeah, of course. Nothing tried, nothing lost. Whatever it is, but basically everything. I'm willing to give everything a go, and if I'm not willing to give it a go, I'm not going to learn. We're young, we're inexperienced, and we're happy to be that. And I think if we just followed the rule book on everything and the guidebook that we might see online, we'd become quite a maybe boring run-of-the-mill business, which is the same as any other business and has no points of difference. So I'm happy to ignore what the sort of outside noise is, go with generally what my gut feeling is and what the team feel, and take a punt. And then I guess more practically, we've had some sort of like real harsh learnings when we set up the production side of the business. We just invested all of our profits and everything else kind of that we could find, digging behind the back of the sofa almost to set it up. And then 1 month later, we're sort of about to take on our first full, I guess, in-house production last year, which was sort of designed and then it was all built in-house, then going to be set up. It was a show at the NEC. And the day before the show opened, our van, which was literally just rolled off the forecourt 2 weeks ago, full of tools, which again were pretty much all brand new and shiny, got broken into and cleared out. The whole thing was nicked overnight. And it was a very quick realisation on how fickle it can be and how quick everything can go. And it's, we then went into 9 months of back and forth with the hotel management about CCTV footage, the local police trying to get anything from them, which, with it being such a regular occurrence, for those who know around sort of Birmingham, I guess major cities, there wasn't a huge amount they could do. And the insurance company who, naturally it's their default response to try and make things difficult for you to kind of reclaim, because they have to protect their, I guess, false claims and things like that. But as someone who was super new into it, naive, very excited, and then for it all just to go, and that, like, as I said, that was all of our kind of like profits, anything which the business had at that point, it was almost enough to close down the production side overnight financially if we weren't so I guess steadfast in the thought that this was a one-off occurrence which we can absolutely learn from, and we just have to rebuild from it. And eventually 9 months later we managed to recoup like 50% of the cost we lost through our insurance, but it was still a really quick learning curve and very harsh, and we were a young team who I guess hadn't experienced some of those harsh realities of life at that point. Yeah. So that was a challenge, but definitely made us much more aware and stronger and resilient as a result.
Yeah, well, so as I've said to you before, I still get goosebumps listening to it. What an awful experience, but I think very admirable that you're treating it such a learning curve. But what did those couple of days after that happened look like for you?
A lot of time on the phone. I guess it's kind of similar to the like grief processing stages which people have. There was a lot that the first like 12 hours I was so angry, and actually I had a phone call from the team, because I wasn't on site at the time. I had a phone call from the team telling me it had happened, and I was just about to board a plane on my first family holiday with my 2-year-old, and I was in Heathrow Airport. I had to quickly go, and my wife was like just gratefully giving me some space. But so I sent out a long email just before we went out, after being back and forth on the phone to everyone, with like all the instructions to do straight away. And thankfully the team rallied around, and then 4 hours later when I was off the plane, it was like straight back to it, on the phone to the police, the insurance, the hotel company, and trying to then, I guess, quite quickly look beyond the issue. It had happened. We weren't going to get our tools back. They were probably already on a market by that point, and it was like straight into problem solving. I mean, that's thankfully the grounding side of having at the time a 6-month-old in tow trying to fly from the UK to Portugal with a crying toddler. It was quite distracting, and gave a great sense of reality that, right, okay, this has happened, it's absolutely shit, but no one's really got hurt. It's something that we can try and fight back from, and that's what we did. And it was just, as I said, straight into problem solving, trying to find an immediate solution to finish the job there and then. So we went out, bought some emergency tools straight away, just spended whatever money needed to be spent to get that job done, upfront and honest with our client. We told them everything that had happened. So some of the bits and pieces we had in our van were specific light fittings for just to finish their exhibition stand it was in the morning, and we're like, look, we can't get them now, so we're going to have to get these ones. It's a small detail, but all these details matter, and they matter to our clients, they matter to us. But being upfront, honest, transparent, again, they were super fine about it, as you kind of, I think, hope most people would be in that kind of situation. Then we just kind of learnt the lessons, put more padlocks on the vans, got different places to park, and took less tools and cheap tools to site from now on. So,
nice. Well, amazing. I think it's such an incredible story of resilience, and I think it's a testament to your investment in culture within the business as well, that the team were able to kind of rally together and and get through that and still deliver. So it's incredible. And you mentioned that side of the business is now
so that's so it's up and running, firing on all cylinders. So we've actually just invested in a new 16,000 square foot premises down in North Devon, which is where our production takes place. And we're currently, literally today, rebuilding that with our new sort of offices. We've got a graphic production studio going in, spray booth, all these sort of things which are unexciting to a lot of people, but really exciting to us. And it allows us to kind of fully up our, I guess, like our 360 delivery model, where our clients are able to benefit from that creativity, customer service, project management, which an agency model offers. And we're on the, just outside London, easy to kind of get in and around and work with our clients really closely, but then are able to build stuff ourselves from the ground up, be super reactive. We can, we send live streams to our clients whilst things are being built, so they can log on, look into it, and all of those kind of things, which are small details and nice touches, which we wouldn't previously had. So, and it just allows us to grow at the rate we want to grow as well, which is really nice.
Oh, incredible. Well, yeah, what a story from going from that brink where you just invested and that was the whole lot. That was, I guess, a teetering point.
Yeah.
I think you should be immensely proud of where you've been able to get it to.
Thank you.
From that. So, yeah, it's incredible. So I'm afraid we're getting towards the end of our time, but I wanted to kind of wrap up on a question around the future of events and kind of what would you like to see change within the industry, and that can be anything, any aspect that you think you'd like to see look slightly different in the future.
So I've been thinking about this question, and there's a lot which is changing in the industry, as we all know, and it's a wonderful, wonderful industry, which I think it allows innovation in every aspect, from sustainable practices through to tech and AV and everything in between. It comes to life so quickly within events, and I think if you hear about something happening, talking about AI at the moment, you can guarantee it's in events already one way or another, and you'll see all these great things coming to life. So my answer would almost be in reverse to what I would want to change. There'd be certain things I would not want to change. So I would love events if it had a soul to remain grounded, in a sense of events has always been a thing to me where it brings people together, it drives human connection, it drives emotion and experience, and the joining of people in a really great way. And the niggling worry in the back of my mind is all of the innovation which is coming through might detract from the important things within events, which are those things to me which I've just listed. So what I would want events to not change is too much. Mm-hmm. I would want it just to remain keeping people coming together at its core, and using this innovation to enhance and enrich that experience.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. That I completely agree. Some of those bits that are so special about the industry, it makes me think of, there was a moment where I was on site with our content capture team. We were filming at an event, and it was the first time the event had been back in person since the lockdown and COVID, and that event had run for, I think, 35 years or something. Wow. And there was a moment I will always remember distinctly. There were two men, they must have been mid-70s, I think, and they came into the room. They saw each other across, we were filming, and we kind of watched it happen. These two guys, they come over and they gave each other the biggest hug, and they were so happy to see each other. And we were listening to the conversation, and then we actually interviewed them both afterwards, and both of them had seen each other once a year, every year for the past 30 years at this event, and then they hadn't for the 4 years. And just seeing this huge hug that was filled with so much love and emotion, but that was still work and still part of it. Yeah, that you really, even now, I
that's giving me goosebumps. That story.
Just that was really special, and that is definitely the part of the industry that is so special, and that we definitely want to keep alive, I think.
100%. Yeah, it's important. It's an important industry, and it's important all those great bits stay there.
100%. Well, Sam, it's been a pleasure. I really hope everyone's watching. That everyone that is watching as from massive golf companies and US
Yes.
Open and
Yeah.
Olympics and everything like that, and we'll share all of your contact details so you can get in touch afterwards. So
Amazing.
we can get all of that set up. But yeah, thanks for coming on. It's been a privilege.
And thanks for having me. It's been great chatting.
No worries.